Что на землі калузі, сіяте ко ангелі, сіяте ко ангелі.
What's up, everybody? Michael of Johannesburg here today, and in today's video I'm going to discuss 6 crazy things about the Serbian language. Now I know what you're thinking right there. You're thinking, look Michael, we're not that stupid. You can't pull the wool over our eyes that easily. That's a Bosnian meme. Which actually brings me to my first and probably most contentious point in this video. The simple fact of the matter that Bosnian, Croatian, Serbian, and Montenegrin, if you will, are in fact all the exact same language. With some room given for dialectic variances. One can say without a shadow of a doubt that all of those languages are 100% mutually intelligible, pretty much 100%, as opposed to the English language, where one might try and tell you that this,
oh God, you wouldn't belong getting frostbite.
This,
I mean, this is the thing, it's alright when your eyes are not going and happy as eyes. You understand?
and this,
And I'm not far from the Cherokee Indian Reservation. You might know where that's at. And the next little town close to me is Murphy and Bryson City and Andrews, North Carolina. Roger?
are all in fact the same language, despite the fact that they have almost zero mutual intelligibility, particularly when talking about the Scottish dialect. Now, a reason for this, perhaps, is that the Anglosphere, the English-speaking world, with the exception of some things that might have happened in the year 1776, have pretty much maintained a unity and a sort of international solidarity within the Anglosphere, while as the Balkan world is fighting, not so much. So let's take a look at an example of this using the short stories that I procured from the language learning app called Link by Steve Kaufman, which by the way is excellent for comprehensive content so far as language acquisition goes. And one of these short stories is in the Serbian language, the other in the Croatian language, both saying the exact same thing, both very basic, entry-level, comprehensive content. And then you tell me which one was which language. All right. So first, Ana ustaje u 6 ujutro, svako jutro. Okay. Number 2. Ana ustaje u 6 sati svako jutro. Now, I can't tell you which one is which language because they were both in the same language. One might have been worded a little bit differently in order to be contrarian, but basically they are 100% the same language. They don't even contain any of the dialectic changes, which I will discuss in my next point. But if you would like a further and maybe a little bit more humorous example of the ridiculousness of these two languages being designated officially by the UN as 2 separate languages, take a look at this example right here.
Izvolite.
Jedan čaj.
Jedan? Jedan? Ali, ne vidimo.
Lista
Čaj.
priručnik.
Na našem se kaže čaj.
Tačno.
Čaj! Pa zašto odmah niste rekli?
Now, of course, the UN has never been wrong on anything, have they? And that brings me to point number 2. While not exactly quite the same as point number 1, it certainly does relate in the sense of dialects. So, Are you saying gdesi or are you saying jesi? Do you say vreme or do you say vrijeme? Pišeš li na ćirilici ili pišeš li na latinici? Are you using ekavica or iekavica? These are just some of the minor dialectic and regional changes within the language, still all being 100% mutually intelligible. I understand that they certainly can and do cause confusion for beginners, as they did with me for my early stages in acquiring the language. So it's good to be aware of these and to at least have somewhat of a knowledge of, let's say, ekavica versus iekavica being the two main dialects within the Serbo-Croatian broader language family. It's not a language family, it's one language, but politics, what can you do? So point number 3, and we all knew this was coming and it probably deserves its own unique video, is grammar. Serbian grammar is notoriously very complicated for somebody that's not familiar with Slavic grammar or case systems. So basically, if I can sum it up as quickly as possible, in the Serbian language you have muški rod, ženski rod, I srednji rod. So that's masculine, feminine, and neutered gender cases. You also have first person, second person, and third person verb conjugations, also past tense, present tense and future tense that would also change accordingly, and padeži, zapamtite. Nemamo to pojma na engleski jezik uopšte. We don't have that concept in the English language at all. I am not even going to begin to actually go through all of the cases and what they mean, because as I said, that could require its own video, but I will share with you a interesting way that I got myself to remember what all the cases were in the beginning. I call that vlading. No, that's not an actual word in any Slavic language. It is an anagram, an acronym is the word I'm looking for. Yes, it is an acronym. Vlading. Vocative, locative, accusative, dative, instrumentive, nominative, genitive. Vlading. Remember that word and you will remember all of the cases. And I think before I bore you to death, that will cover the grammatical stuff for now. Moving on to the next. So point number 4, and probably my favorite, is consonant clusters. So examples of this: trčiti, crkva, krčma, tlo, brzo, brdo. You get a lot of consonant clusters in the Serbian language, as well as the Polish language, which I'm not too familiar with, but I understand that they are also quite known for these anomalies, so to speak, being the fact that if you are a native speaker of a language within the Germanic language family, like English or Afrikaans, or the Latin family, like Spanish or Italian, this may be counterintuitive to you, and it might take a while before this pronunciation sort of rolls off the tongue with ease. And I say that deliberately, being that in the case of the Serbian language, the r letter R actually seems to almost stand in place of the vowel. So trčiti, crkva. I did find, as a South African, having at least a rudimentary sort of exposure to the Bantu languages actually helped with this, because there are slight consonant clusters in Zulu and Xhosa, which, by the way, I by no means claim to be proficient in, but have somewhat of a vague familiarity with, being the fact that I grew up in South Africa. Lord have mercy on me. Point number 5, azbuka, the alphabet, Cyrillici, the Cyrillic script, the Serbian Cyrillic script more specifically. Now, if I must be 100% honest with you, I didn't struggle with this, and I found this to be the easiest part of acquiring the Serbian language, with one exception: the difference between the letters ch, ch, and j. Now, of course, completely counterintuitive to somebody who is a native English speaker, and something that takes a little bit of getting used to. And to be quite honest, even after 2 years of studying Serbian and acquiring the language, still I might sometimes say ch when I mean to say ch, just because it rolls off the tongue easier, and we don't actually have that concept in the English language at all. So the sixth and final point in the video, and perhaps the most entertaining and humorous part, is izrazi, sayings, the expressions within the Serbian idioms, if you will. So what I mean by this is that one can acquire the entire vocabulary, one can familiarize oneself with all of the grammatical ins and outs, and the actual science of the language, the actual practical applications, and at the end of the day still not even understand what is being said to them. And why is this? This is because there is a difference between the lexicon and the idiom. Some examples of this: Život je činija supe, ja sam viljuška, which directly translates to that life is like a bowl of soup and I am a fork. That is something that you can say when something is not going your way. Or bez dlake na jeziku, which means without hair on the tongue, meaning somebody who is completely and utterly forward and direct, as all Serbs in fact are, which is, I think, a very welcome thing in this day and age of pretenses and so forth. And oh yes, here's a good one: želudac mi se prevrnuo. That's something that you can say if something is putting you off, something is off-putting to you, something causes disgust, which literally means that your stomach flipped, was turned upside down. So quite interesting, yeah. So that concludes my video of 6 crazy things about the Serbian language. I hope that you enjoyed. I hope that you learned something new. I hope that I didn't fill your head with all kinds of misinformation, man, and that it was actually useful and actually correct and pertinent. Because obviously I am still learning the language myself. While I feel quite confident in saying I can speak the language and converse with native speakers very comfortably, watch native language content, and I'm probably at anywhere between a proficient B1 to a soft C1, being that it does vary from situation to situation. I will put myself somewhere at a B2, being that I still make a lot of mistakes and I am still learning the language, but I do feel that I am on the other side of the hill so far as one's journey towards fluency goes, being that it is an ongoing journey and the learning never stops, and I'm still learning my own native language, English. You know, through colonialism, it became like everybody's native language. So for better or for worse, nažalost, ja sam engleski govornik. But it's not through choice or through DNA. Either way, I do hope that you enjoyed the video. Please do subscribe, hit the like, hit the bell, all of the things that YouTubers tell you to do. You can follow my Instagram, Michael of Johannesburg. If you feel like you would like to support my channel, I've dropped the link to my Patreon in the comment section. Any support would be very much appreciated. You all have access to all sorts of content that is not released on my YouTube channel, so a lot of it is music, a lot of it's pertaining to my Forgotten Joburg project, so you'll see some videos that I just don't plan on releasing on YouTube there, and you'll be able to also get some access to yet unreleased material, so early access, I suppose, as well as behind the scenes footage concerning a number of stuff, outreach and missionary work that is being done under the auspices of my spiritual father, Father Elias, here in South Africa, concerning the Orthodox Church, and also a multi-part documentary on that same very subject that I'm currently working on. You will be able to view some behind the scenes footage, and you basically be able to be privy to the work in progress, so you know what you are contributing towards. If not, God bless you either way, and I will leave you the same way that I always leave you, in saying God bless, may God protect you, preserve you, and until next time, Michael of Johannesburg out.